Welcome to Living Unshackled on Purpose. You are in for an anointed episode, and you will gain a 360 perspective on domestic violence. You will have insight, inspiration, and you will be truly blessed. Come join us. Thank you. Welcome to the very first episode of Living Unshackled on Purpose. My name is Jennifer Foxworthy. I am the founder and CEO of Inspirationally Speaking LLC, and I am extremely blessed to bring this anointed show to you on Gospel for You TV network. You are in for insight, inspiration, all things dealing with releasing the shackles of domestic violence. We're going to give you a 360 perspective of releasing the strongholds that bind us. And my very first guest I am so thrilled to have is Nakesha Muldrow. She is extremely special to me. We went to high school together at William Penn Senior High School in York, Pennsylvania. And I learned about Nakesha's story because she was a presenter at my second annual Unstoppable You Women's Conference last November 2014. And so I am extremely pleased to have Nakesha share her testimony, and I know that it is going to touch and bless someone out there who is watching. Nakesha, thank you so much for being here. Yay.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. Nakesha, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
I am the oldest child of 5, so I'm the oldest. I'm the mother hen of all my siblings. We're a very close-knit family. I'm also a mother to 3 children and a stepmother to 2 children. I currently have been working for the same health system for approximately 9 years now, and I am happily married for, I think this is year number 7. But very happily married to an awesome guy, and just really enjoying life right now. Really enjoying everything that life is throwing at me.
Now, you have gone through a journey to get to this happiness. Explain how domestic violence came into your life.
Well, I was moved away from home and married by the age of 17. So I think after high school, I graduated a little bit early, so I actually graduated at the age of 17. And I think at that point, my only goal was really just to get out of the small town that I lived in. I really just wanted to go. And fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, I met my first husband. And he actually lived in Virginia. So right then and there, that was sort of like, my ticket. There you go. I can graduate and I can move away from this small town, and I'm just ready to do something different. I think that was my main motivation for why I left home and why I went and got married at such a young age. But then getting married at a young age, and then right after I was pregnant, so I was also pregnant at 17. There was still that level of immaturity. And at 17, we all think that we know everything.
Yes,
so looking back, it was immaturity. But, in your 17-year-old head, not necessarily. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where the journey started. My first husband was many years older than me. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of helped with the manipulation and some of the mental abuse, definitely, and my misunderstanding and lack of knowledge of exactly what was happening. So that was kind of where it started.
My goodness. So were there red warning signs in the beginning? When was the first indication that something is going awry here?
I think it took me a little longer. I kept attributing everything to working out the kinks. In the beginning, the first bouts of the mental abuse, I just kept telling myself in my head, we're just working out the kinks. This is just because this is a new relationship. I'm in a new city. We're just working out the kinks. So I think it took some time before I really put things together and realized that this wasn't just working out the kinks.
Okay. Did he put his hands on you, or what was the first encounter that this is not right, or did you think this was normal? And why?
I didn't think it was normal. However, I was raised in a family where my parents have been together since they were children. And so my philosophy and how I was raised was that, till death do us part. I took those vows very seriously. And so I concentrated on that. And I would say probably my first issue or the first time I really felt a little nervous, because it took me a while to build up fear. Mm-hmm. But the first time I felt a little nervous was when I was actually put out on the side of a dark highway because I said something that he didn't like. I don't even think it was necessarily mean. It was just something he didn't like. And it was a dark, woody highway. And I found myself kind of out on that dark highway walking all by myself at 17. So I think that was the first sign that I had to watch what I said, even though I didn't think what I said was wrong.
And this is very indicative of being in an abusive relationship. It's like walking on eggshells.
Definitely.
And for those who do not know what domestic violence is a excessive pattern or behavior towards another to make the abuser feel superior, and he makes the victim feel inferior. And it could be psychological, mental, emotional, economical abuse. Domestic violence goes far and wide. It has no ethnicity. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian. There's no age limit. From 15 on up. The economical status. Even rich people. Middle income. Lower income. It reaches far and wide. And that's what I want you all to understand. And with Nakesha's upbringing in her family, that death do you part, Keisha's going to explain to us, there were some times where you were literally fighting for your life.
Yeah.
Explain that.
The verbal abuse then, like with many stories, then turned physical. And then when the physical started, it just kept building. I think that it built slowly, but it still built. If I would cower and kind of just go into a very defensive mode, sometimes it would be over quickly. If I found myself trying to push back, fight back, that's when it started to get just really, really violent. So I think there were a couple moments, and one in particular where I actually was in the hospital with a concussion.
Wow. And
that was ironically an instance where I didn't fight back. It was just kind of an attack from behind. So it kept building over the years, and it just kept building. And I think if I would have stayed in it, I think it would have continued to build, because it just didn't seem like it was going to go in any other direction. Now,
I know, because we've personally talked, you sought help, or other people who heard the screaming, the yelling, called the authorities. Because people who don't understand domestic violence, how do you stay in this, or why didn't you leave? So, can you elaborate of how did that transpire?
And I'm not quite sure if I actually would consider what my reaction seeking help. Most times it was neighbors who would call the cops, or it was bystanders if it would happen out in public areas. When the response came, or when the authorities came, I would just be very matter of fact. I would just say exactly what happened. I wouldn't lie about the situation, but I never really said I need help. I never really expressed to anyone this has been ongoing. It doesn't appear as if it's going to stop. So the help was there, but I can't really say that I actively participated in seeking any sort of extra help beyond them responding to the incident.
Was there a reason, or what was your rationale in not actively seeking that help?
Pride. Pride, it can be good to some extent, but it can also cripple us. And my pride was very strong. I was too proud to want to come back home to the city I wanted to leave from. I also was very proud in that, I pictured this family that I had, and I didn't want to let anyone else see that picture that I outwardly portrayed was not what was inwardly happening. So it just very, very proud. Very, the pride kind of took over and really had me at a place where I just shifted into hiding it.
Okay. Wow. My goodness. And you hit on a shackle that many of us deal with, and that's pride. But we are also held down by fear and doubt, what other people think. So we're not just discussing the shackle of domestic violence and living a purposeful life, but in Nakesha's case, and many other people's case you may come across, pride kept her in that state.
Definitely.
What were you how did you feel about yourself inside? I can only imagine.
I felt split because I'm naturally a very happy, enthusiastic, happy-go-lucky kind of person. But then when you're dealing with a home life such as that, where you're scared to say the wrong thing, you're scared to upset him, you're scared of his response, you're fearful for, the next time he's going to lash out. When you feel split. So I was split between the person that I was naturally versus the person I was being made to be. So very split down the middle.
Because you consider yourself a social butterfly.
Yes.
Just a loving spirit.
Yes.
And you were slowly being brought to your knees. Just the verbal, the emotional, the physical. It was sucking the life out of you.
Definitely.
What do you say to the viewer that is in a similar situation, and then you have children on top of this?
Yes.
So explain where do you go from here?
The thing that I think that I discovered is that everyone's situation is different. And so it's very hard when you go to talk to someone about domestic violence, or when they come to you to talk about it, because you never fully understand how deep they're in. You don't understand the hurdles that they may have in getting out. You also don't know whether or not they're safe. Whether they're safe enough to get out. So you have to be very careful in the advice that you give to other people, because
Amen.
you have to.
Amen.
You don't know exactly where they are.
Yes. Thank you for tuning in to Living Unshackled on Purpose. We are going to take a quick break, but please come back and join us for the second part of Nakesha's story. Thank you so much.
one mind, one body, one spirit.
Real talk.
Welcome back to Living Unshackled on Purpose. I am so glad that you could join us today. My special guest is Nakesha Muldrow. She has been sharing her powerful testimony of how she got into a domestic violence relationship, what transpired, and now we're going to see how she unleashed those shackles to have a purposeful life that God desired for her. So, Nakesha, what was your sick and tired of being sick and tired point?
I actually don't think I had one, and many people might be surprised by that answer. I honestly think that it was a build-up. It was definitely a build-up over time, and I had a moment. So I can't really say that I had a sick and tired moment. I had a moment of what I call clarity.
Oh, wow.
I often tell people it was almost like divine intervention. I really felt just a wave of peace come over me. It was a morning. I remember the sun was shining, and I really just sat up and I felt very peaceful. And immediately this feeling just came over me, and I said to myself, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done.
You're done.
It was no big event. It was no fight. It was not an argument. There was nothing that I can remember particularly happening. It was that moment of peace and clarity.
Wow. It's amazing how God works when He delivers you from the belly of the beast.
Yes.
He provides that peace. He provides that clarity.
Yes.
To let you know it is time.
Yes.
And what was the journey like, as He ordained your steps to move forward, to get out?
I really, at that moment, and again, it was a building, and it was that moment of clarity, but I started to remember my dreams again. I started to remember the dreams that I had when I was 17 years old. I started to remember what I wanted to be. And all of that just started to become so clear to me. And, from that moment, when I really had that moment of clarity and exiting from that relationship, it was not easy. Mm-hmm. It was turbulent. Mm-hmm. It was more violence before it got better. Mm-hmm. There was that process, but I held tight to those dreams. I held tight to what I aspired to be. Yes. I went back to school. I got my bachelor's degree in long-term care administration. I continued on and got my MBA.
Amen.
I found a wonderful career, actually two wonderful careers. I started off 1 year with one company and was there for 10 years. And then like I mentioned before, the last 9 years I've been with a healthcare company, and really just kind of kept moving up and advancing and really realizing my dream. I've always internally felt like a leader. I've always wanted to lead. I felt like I had a natural ability to lead. Mm-hmm. And now I lead people in various departments, in a huge healthcare system across many counties. And, it was a process, but I was able to reconnect with my dreams again.
Now, I am doing a follow-up book, and we'll discuss this a little bit more, but I think there's a process that in any traumatic experience, you have to go through in order to find pain from the purpose, or find purpose from the pain. And, whether it's forgiveness, healing, restoration. Yes. How did that transformation happen for you, Nakesha?
I really think it started when I took some time to not only forgive myself, but also to forgive him.
Forgiveness.
Definitely forgiveness. I really had to just kind of take a step back. I found myself over the years of being in a relationship like that, I found myself feeling angry, bitter, and that wasn't who I was. So I had to take some time to step back. I had to deal with that. I had to deal with my anger towards myself for allowing myself to be in a relationship like that. I had to also just kind of let go and move past that relationship. And for me, in order to do that, it all started with forgiveness. I had to forgive.
Amazing. Because I believe that shackle of not forgiving, you will continue to feel the weight of the world on your shoulders. Definitely. When you're holding in resentment, when you're holding in anger. The other person has gone on with their life.
Definitely.
And you are still held on to what they did. And you're stopping your life pretty much in its tracks. Unable to go on. And when we believe that it's not affecting me or we suppress it, it shows in other ways. It bleeds into our relationship with our children, with our families, with our co-workers, with anyone we come in contact with. And so that's very interesting that you say forgiveness was the first thing you had to do to release that shackle, to start fulfilling your purpose, start to fulfilling your dreams.
And I do believe it was a process, Jennifer. As you mentioned, a lot of that anger, a lot of those feelings, they bleed into other relationships. And that definitely did happen during the time I was in that relationship. And it still existed after the relationship until I started to work through the process of healing and forgiveness. So it was definitely there. Thank goodness I've been able to restore a lot of those relationships and kind of move past that cold time in my life, because you do sometimes start to, I felt like I started to turn into the same cold person he was.
Oh my.
So, that was another process, and it was another thing I had to forgive myself for. It was definitely a journey and a process. None of these things happened overnight.
You have to be gentle with yourself. And that's what I tell people through any traumatic experience, whether it's domestic violence, sexual assault, grief, losing a loved one, and feeling that pain. But you have to work through it. God desires so much for us. He loves us. And we all have a purpose, an assignment, so to speak. You can't fulfill your assignment. You cannot live a purposeful life if you are held down. Nakesha, you have been through such an amazing journey. How did you find a healthy, fulfilling relationship? You had to love yourself. And when we were talking a while ago, you mentioned a challenge because you were beat down by name calling and just mean-spirited things.
Yes.
What was that challenge that just also kicked in?
I think the challenge was that I had to believe that I was worth a functional, healthy, happy relationship.
Amen.
That was definitely the challenge. And what I found was that my connection with God, my spirituality, my faith, really helped me through that process. Really helped me to understand that, just like you mentioned, God was calling me to do more. He was leading my steps. He was directing me down a path where he wanted me to go. And that path included a chance to be happy again in a functional relationship.
That's right.
And so I think I had to kind of take a step back and realize that. I had to, look, it was not easy for my now husband. Bless his heart. He had to break down some barriers in the beginning, and he talk about proving your love.
Oh my.
He took his time. and for that I'm thankful. But definitely it was still a little bit of me having to let down my guard and allowing myself to believe that not, even though I knew everyone wasn't like that, to allow someone back into my life and completely trust them.
Right.
So it was still a process, and like I said, bless his heart, he was patient.
You made him work for it.
Yes.
But you two are so dynamic together. Your husband is absolutely amazing, a pillar in the community. Of course, you are as well. And I just want you to express to the viewers any last minute things on your mind. What would you like to share?
I'd like to share with people to share. I think for far too long I was quiet. I think that I hid my journey and my story for far too long, and I think I underestimated the power and kind of the connection it could have to others. I think I underestimated how it could help others come out of the situation that they're in, or encourage them that, you know, your better is coming.
Amen.
So I would say share.
Yes, acknowledging what you went through, releasing that shackle. I can't express that enough. And this is why God blessed me with the name Living Unshackled on Purpose. Keisha is now walking on purpose. And I want you to do the same. I want to let you know that my first book, Tomorrow My Sunshine Will Come, is available on paperback and ebook through Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, CreateSpace, Amazon.com. I'm writing the follow-up called Free to Dance in the Sunshine. Nakesha is going to share her story more extensively. So be prepared, watch out for that. I also want you to stay tuned, because this episode will be coming to you the second Friday of every month at 11 o'clock on WGCB TV 49, Dish Network 9022, DirecTV 49, Comcast Channel 7 or 18, Armstrong 12, Coon Communications Channel 2, and if you don't get those TV channels, go to www.gospelforyounetwork.com. There will also be a link on my website, www.inspirationallyspeaking.com. And I will also have a YouTube channel dedicated to living unshackled on purpose. So thank you so very much for taking the time to tune in to Living Unshackled on Purpose. I wish for all shackles to be released and that you live on purpose. Have a blessed day. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Living Unshackled on Purpose. I hope that it has blessed you. Tune in next time, same channel. God bless you and enjoy your day. Live